The first poem I'm going to read is about 30 minutes I spent inside the nightclub called Time on Sansom Street by 13th. It was a live jazz band playing. They were playing some Stevie Wonder and some Police. And I ran into my friend Zach, who's about 6'7", 320-pound black man. And we were talking about poetry in Harlem. It's called Too Much Time. Stepping in time, the quintet is soulfully wondering aloud, belting out a song from the key of life embellished. Modulating forward, they wrap the audience around their finger, policing the crowd with the rhythm section in a flourish. I planned on catching up on some Z's, but not quite like this. My big brother Zach is cooling out, punishing a bar stool, listening to jazz, offering me a libation and thoughts on liberation. Teaching me about the Harlem Renaissance, not like I learned in school. A frothing, cloudy, blonde allagash snaps like an alligator as I squeeze the orange wedge into its wide-necked mouth. Alyssa's pupils reflect the touch-screen register at the dimly lit bar. Shining in the spotlight, the groovy feel reverberates throughout. Busyness and thoughts of where I need to be float out the window, with the rhapsody emanating from the five virtuosos laying down a straight flush, perhaps with a sparkling of out-of-pocket swing, as I realized my citrus stopped swimming, apparently drowned. A looks to Z and me asking, if not the check, what will it be? A golden monkey howls out my name, breaking the icy silence. Beret removed, it belches Belgian, ailing thrice from its ordeal, as it slips into something more comfortable, a sensuous chalice. The seduction completing, I feign resistance to its coy, dallying presence, an effervescence, an essence alluring, suave, intoxicating, and persuasive. The sax coos and wheezes, minor gusts leaving me breathless, in need of thirst quenching, my desire for understanding raging unabated. Spying in one ramp, I traffic attention away from Z's personal symphony, bridging back to a hitherto conversation, a lingering vibrato in memory. In the preceding chorus, he called out a particular phrase, and I responded, not knowing the source of my improvisation, just its resonance with me. Later, I put my finger on it. Harlem is what we were talking about. The feeling of rebirth, the notion that injustice has no place on this earth. Langston points out what happens to a dream deferred. It explodes. My intention's slightly different, but still, I am echoing it for all it's worth. This is called Punxsutawney. It's that little town where Groundhog goes and predicts how much more winter we're going to have. And, okay. Throughout the barren winter, I stared vacantly through the cloudy bus window at life and other passers-by. Always a dim, vague image of myself reflected back at me, holding my existence captive. Unwilling to face both inner and outer world, to see through the pain framing my existence, I cast the bitter fog, heaving my breath onto the cold interface between the two, obscuring the image projected, the one looking back into me. Then I wrote over it, allowing my fingertips to wander aimlessly across the hazy portal until they numbed. As I withdrew my brush, the warmth spread back into my extremities. Feeling returned, and I began to develop images with much greater clarity and perspective. Self-consciousness melted into the background while I lost myself in the joy of creation. The new self-portrait was completed on February 1st. The following day, a shadow was not seen. The window retained the frost only a bit longer. The wintry gasps didn't adhere to the surface anymore. When spring dawned, I opened up the window to let the breeze in. I breathed in the life-giving air and expanded my palette to encompass the rainbow, while eyeing the lavish canvas outside the window, awaiting my touch. And here's my last poem. This is it's called Manayunk, and well, it should be self-explanatory.
What's it about?
Yeah, dead bars reading before we moved to Venice Island. One of the incidents that, well, we used to meet somewhere else, but it'll be evident here. Manayunk. After leaving the cold craft beers and chilled airs of Kildare's, we were challenged to find our prior parking place, routing through the uphill labyrinth of 1.5-way streets that traverse the Mount of Manayunk. Our pilgrimage to find our vehicles took us higher, a hazy destination above St. John's Church, out of the clutches of the all-seeing eyes of the PPA kiosk cops, who rarely dare to venture such a circuitous climb. 2.5 hours ago, deep-seated opinions boiled, catalyzing a reaction from discussion to debate, without deliberation into irate argument, uncoiling inside the spiral bookcase, then out into the black of Cotton Street. The quarrel weighed on me like the boulder of books, notepad, binder, and iPad, strapped over my shoulders, a backpack packed to the max, imprinting an indistinct X of creeping clammy sweat across my posture as I plodded uphill like a turtle. My walking friend had a knack for pointing out that liberals like myself suffered from guilt over things they weren't directly responsible for, such as racism and poverty and injustice. I never knew what to make of those comments, but the visceral uneasiness panging through my organs over this flare-up discomforted me, and I tried hard as I could to shirk responsibility. I was not the lead car in this journey into the hills, nor a participant in the barred conversation, just a fellow traveler with a vague sense of direction and an intuition that our pathway wouldn't follow the same course anymore. We located our cars, then I trailed along Main Street, making my way out of Manayunk onto the Schuylkill eastbound. From there, I followed my headlights home to South Philly. Since that evening, the brief road trip up Schuylkill never arrived at that exact destination again. My companion and I still talk, heatedly at times, and walk together, but primarily on level ground. I carry some indistinct remorse around with me, but not as a badge of liberalism, as conjectured. Sometimes I just wish the past could be changed, that people didn't act so blindly, and damage wreaked during a tactless dispute could be undone. I'd rather conservative return to life before the fall, where we were crammed together drinking wine, crunching wheat thins and cheddar, reciting poetry. Thanks, that's it.